Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to make a happy birthday card and we're going to try out some brand new pens. I'm using the set of 24 felt tip AmazaPens. They're very fine line, smooth writing pens, and also the set of 24 gel ink pens. And I'm going to show you some techniques you can do with both of these. Now, a quick tip is to choose your paper before you begin coloring. That way you won't have to try and find paper to match after you're done coloring your image. The image I'm using of a gumball machine is from Carmen's Veranda, and I'll put a link in the video description and list out all the supplies I used. Now I'm going to start by using one of the fine line AmazaPens. You can see that they're kind of like a triangular shape so they don't roll off the table. Now something I like to do before I start coloring is I'll make a little swatch on the side of my paper. That way I can make sure the color is just what I want before I go and color my image. I wanted to see if these paints would move with water, and they do. I used a water-based blending marker to move mine, but you could also use a damp brush if you like. Now I'm going to start by coloring my image right around the edges where there's some shadow lines. Now the nice thing about this stamp is that there's kind of small dots called stippling around the areas where you'd have the most shadow, so it really helps coloring when you have an image like that. So I'm adding my color to the areas that have the dots, and I'm kind of leaving it plain in the areas that don't, and I'm just using kind of side to side diagonal lines for my coloring because I have a feeling that I'll be able to see some of those lines after I blend them out. Now I'm adding my water through a water-based marker, just one of those clear blending markers by Tombow or Stampin' Up, or you can use a water brush if you want, and I'm just spreading the ink around, and you can see I got a really beautiful natural shading. Now a quick tip, don't go back over that area while it's still wet. If you feel like you want that darker, make sure you wait until after it's dry before you add more ink. Otherwise, that pen, when you draw on top of the wet paper, it's just like trying to use any sort of water-based markers. It's going to grab that paper and then you're not going to be able to blend it. So you want to make sure that you work one section at a time. If you decide to go over it again, make sure it's completely dry. But I'm actually going to show you a glazing technique with the metallic gel ink pens that'll give you a really pretty look. So I'm actually just going to do this one coat, and I'm going to proceed along doing the other side of the gumball machine and the top all in the same manner with this red. While you're at it, go ahead and color some of the red gumballs with this red pen as well. To color the silver front plate of the gumball machine, go ahead with your gray pen and scribble in color everywhere you see those stippled marks, just like we did with the red areas on the gumball machine. Also put in shadows any place you think it would be darker, such as that middle section where you'd put your coin in to get your gumballs. That's recessed, it'd be really dark. Also underneath the turn key and any other place you want the dark. Then after you're done adding the ink, you're going to use a water brush with water or a water-based blending pen to go ahead and spread the ink around. You can also scribble some extra ink out onto a piece of plastic or wax paper and pick that up with your brush, kind of like using the palette technique with markers. That way you can spread it around more. These pens are so fine that you might want to do that so that you can get kind of like a broader wash of color. Coloring the gumballs can be done a couple different ways, and there's really no way to mess it up. Now, there are 24 colors in the set of felt pens, so for the yellow ones, I actually took 2 shades of yellow, a darker yellow and run around the edge, and then I took the lighter yellow and went over the entire thing, kind of blending the colors together and giving it a really beautiful two-tone round effect. But if you don't have that many pens or you don't feel like bothering with that, you can also color them in a solid flat color too. It's going to look just as well. Now go ahead and swatch them out on the side of your paper before you color them in, though. You want to make sure the ink that you choose is matching the pattern paper that you have selected. Once you've colored all the gumballs, it's time to add a few finishing touches to our design. I decided that the globe that the gumballs are in would be pretty if it had a little bit of tint of color, and I also felt like under the globe of gumballs we needed a little bit of shadow, so I'm using that gray pen to kind of fill in under there to make it look like there's probably still some gumballs in there. You're seeing the inner mechanics of the machine, and you're just getting that kind of shadow and that weight to make it look like the globe of gumballs isn't just hovering. I also went in with that gray marker once again and added just little shadows where I felt it needed to crisp up the design a little bit. For the globe, I'm going to take the light blue Fineliner pen and just add color where I see the stippled dots. Do you notice a pattern here? If you just add colors where the stippling dots are, you really can't go wrong. Then I'm taking a clear blending marker and I'm spreading that pigment around. It's very easy and it looks really well, and really the only thing we've used to color so far are a few pens from the AmazaPens Sketch Fineliner set of 24. We've probably used maybe a dozen colors, if that, and we've used a water-based blending marker, or you can use a damp paintbrush, whatever you have. But look at the range of colors you can get from just that. Now we're going to switch over to the AmazaPens Gel Ink pen set of 24, and we're going to add some special effects. The set includes 12 glitter pens, 6 neon, and 6 pastel colors. We're going to use the glitter pens to glaze over our image. I find that the thing I really like about them is that the ink in the glitter pens are transparent, but then that subtle shimmer really shows up. And it's a really popular technique nowadays, and there are pens that are like $5 and $6 a piece to do this, and I love that I can do this on the cheap with this set of pens and have a range of colors to work from. So basically all I'm doing is coloring over everything I colored before with the red marker. And you can still see that I still have the highlights and the shadows, but look at that, look how it sparkles. It's so pretty, and it's just such a subtle touch, and still our beautiful shading and highlighting work shows up that we did before. And here you can see with all of the red done, it just looks so pretty and sparkly. You're going to want to go ahead and do that to other part of the pictures as well. The silver is really nice on the silver plate area, but I will warn you, the silver in the set is extremely opaque, so I would not color over everything with the silver. I would just do touches here and there. All the other pens in the set I find to be fairly translucent, so you can glaze over, but that silver is super duper opaque, so use it with care and sparingly. I also added some of that shimmery glitter blue to the globe area of my gumball machine because I wanted it to be kind of sparkly and shiny like glasses. And since gel ink stays wetter longer than regular ink, I found that I could use my clear blending marker to spread it around a little bit and make it even more transparent, which is a really nice effect. Once I was done coloring the image, I used my regular old scissors to cut the image out. So you don't have to worry about using the background as far as a place to test your pens because you're going to cut it out anyway. Now let's make the card. I matted the gumball machine on a very dainty star print. It's a tone-on-tone green star print from that Bow Bunny collection that I showed you earlier. And then I mounted it on that beautiful yellow tone-on-tone chevron. I think that tone-on-tone patterns are a really safe bet because you get the playful pattern. It's not so stark as a tone on white, and it just is really great, fun way to use pattern without a lot of busyness. So you could take a busy pattern. If it's tone-on-tone, it seems less busy, I guess, because there's not so much contrast. I also used a strip of a happy birthday print. It was basically the words happy birthday printed over and over and over in a thin font on white, and I wanted to use that because it has all the colors that I was using in my coloring. Now I wanted to do something a little bit non-traditional and use 2 pieces of 6x6 printed cardstock for my card base instead of, you know, layering everything onto a card base, and I think it turned out pretty cute. What I'm doing here is taking that other scrap of green paper that I'd used to mount the gumball machine and just adding adhesive on 3 sides to make a pocket because I'll be putting money in this card. The girl who's having her birthday actually asked in lieu of presents to have money so she could buy gifts for kids on the Angel Tree, which is this charity the Salvation Army does, and kids from needy families will write what they want for Christmas on these tags, and then people can take them and they can buy the gifts and they can drop them off with the tag at different stores, and the stores distribute them out to the families in need. I think it's such a sweet idea. So I wanted to make a card so she could still have the card, but then put the money in there so she could go and buy the gifts that she wanted to do for the other families, which I thought was such a sweet idea. Now to hinge both pieces of the card together, I am using washi tape. I'm just using polka dot orange, which I thought was kind of pretty and wouldn't overpower any of the prints I already chose. Then I added adhesive on the back of my gumball machine that we colored, and I'm going to stick that right onto the green panel on the front of the card. And I found that washi tape hinge really holds the card together well, and it's a nice quality washi tape from Paper Mart, so it does flex and go pretty well. Now I thought that this would be fun if I could do something so I could see some of the pattern from the inside of the card, even if the card's closed. So I'm just using my regular scissors to cut kind of like a scallopy wave along the edge of the front of the card, and that way you get to kind of peek onto the inside as well. And there you can see that washi tape hinge that's holding my two pieces of paper together. I also thought it would be kind of nice to take that happy birthday paper and add that to the inside of the card, because I'm just using a printed cardstock rather than like a traditional cardstock. It's not quite as heavy, so I wanted to kind of bulk up my layers a little bit. So adding this panel of leftover paper is going to do that job really nicely. And then I can add another strip of washi tape to also hold the seam down and add a little more pattern and a little bit more fun to the design. I had this scrap of striped paper left over. I made the envelope for this card with it, so I thought I'd tear a piece off and I would adhere that to the inside of the card, just giving a nice little lined place for my daughters to write a happy birthday message on the card. And I'm just gonna hook that down with a little piece of washi tape. Because I adhered the pattern paper to the inside of the card, I had to recut my scallop edge on the outside of the card so I could still see to the inside patterns again. Now it's time to embellish our card. I thought some rainbow hued buttons would be really pretty. So what I did was I picked out some colors that I had used in my card, and then I simply used some baker's twine to tie string through the holes, and then I glued it down with some heavy duty glue. I thought the front of the card needed a little bit of another strong color, so I used a thin strip of washi tape to kind of break up the patterns on the front of the card. As a bonus, it actually held my card steady as I glued on the buttons. I like the look of the metallic ink so much from the gel ink pens that I went ahead and added a little bit of sparkle to some of the gumballs. That's totally optional though. Then I trimmed the sticky out bits of the washi tape off of my card, and I used a little bit of blue ink to accent the curve that I cut on the front of the card. That's just going to make it pop a little bit and make the card look a little bit more professional and finished. And that's all there is to it. It's a fun, cheerful card that is certain to brighten up anybody's birthday. I want to thank our sponsor, AmazaPens. Please check out their set of 24 gel ink pens. They're non-toxic and acid-free, and they come in 24 gorgeous colors, and also their sketch Fineliners, which is my favorite between the two. They're also 24 assorted colors, non-toxic, acid-free, and odorless water-based ink. I think you're really going to enjoy these, and they are an extreme value. There'll be links in the video description, as well as a coupon code so you can save some money on these fantastic pens. I want to thank you so much for watching today. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, happy crafting.